to Crime and Court. My name is Heather, and this is another episode of The Truth Behind Making a Murderer, the Netflix hit series. You may have heard of it. So we are talking about, right now, Wisconsin versus Steven Avery. We are in the process of going through the transcripts, and we are on the state's case part 3. So this was a 20-something day trial. I'll show you in one second. What was it? Yeah, 27-day trial. 27 days. And so we're not obviously going through the entire transcript, but we are going through a lot. And I'm going to at least mention all of the witnesses. So Nicole Sturm is, we left off yesterday with Pam Sturm, who found the RAV4, Teresa's RAV4 on the Avery salvage yard. And we also read through the testimony of Ryan Hilligus, who was Teresa's ex-boyfriend, yet still in the picture somehow, some way. So I don't know about that. But, so that's what we did in the last episode. We are now going to go through just a couple little pieces of Nicole Sturm's testimony. She said a couple things that I just want to make sure that are highlighted because it came up in Pam Sturm's testimony, so I want to make sure that it is addressed. All right, so Ken Kratz is the person questioning Nicole Sturm, and he says, and other than taking photos, can you tell the jury what else you did around that vehicle? With the tissue, I checked all 4 doors to see if any of the doors were open. They were all locked, so none of the 4 doors were open. I also used my cell phone to call the sheriff's office. So, and then he asks her to describe the tissue a little bit better. She says, sure, because it was a cold November day, it was November 5th, I brought tons of tissues with me because my nose was running and whatnot. And I like how the court reporter put whatnot in quotes. And I had clean tissues within my pockets. My mom said, I don't want to disturb anything, so please use your shirt sleeve or whatever you have to avoid touching the vehicle. I thought that I had clean tissues in my pocket, so I used that. I did check all 4 doors to see if anything was open. They were all locked. So there's that, and I'm going to skip through to some more, another portion here. After the telephone call was made to law enforcement authorities, where did you go? She says, I stayed right near my mom, right near the vehicle, and after law enforcement was contacted, we moved a little bit away from the vehicle, but we kept our eyes on the vehicle at all times just to make sure that no one else was coming. We didn't want to draw attention to ourselves in case someone would come after us because we did find the vehicle. So her and her mom think that they're in imminent danger because they found a vehicle on the Avery lot, which I think is a stretch because, I mean, I don't know. So they're probably not likely in imminent danger, but they both are acting like it. I don't know. I mean, I can't even imagine, a family member missing and you having to go look for them. It's awful, but it's just sketchy to me the way that things were done. And the fact that they even thought that it was okay to touch the car. Like, that's crime scene 101. Don't touch anything. So I don't know why they would even touch the car, because you could be not only leaving your own DNA, but wiping off DNA that could help find the true perpetrator. Next question. Do you know which department was the first to arrive on the scene? She says the first to arrive on the scene was Manitowoc County. And he goes into like how many people, how many officers. I can't remember how many were from Calumet County, how many were from Manitowoc. She's like, I don't know. There were plainclothes officers there as well, which might have been like a Fassbender or a Wiegert, potentially. And the fact that Manitowoc County was even on his property is just beyond me because of the civil suit that was already in play that Steven had against Manitowoc County. So they should have never stepped foot on his property. All right, so cross-examination by Jerry Buting to Nicole Sturm. This is, again, day 3. Sorry, I forgot to say that this is day 3, February 14th, 2007. Nicole Sturm was the first witness on the stand. Excuse me. My throat just won't clear. All right, so where is it? I know I have a couple things highlighted here. They're just far down. He asks about all the debris and things like that. I really do recommend, I'm putting in the bottom of all of my videos on the trial, the transcript links, so you can look through here yourself and read through the stuff that, interests you, the stuff that maybe I skip over, but you would like to know more about. So just so you know, you can always follow along with the transcript and also peruse it at your own leisure. All right, so where's the question here? Oh, he asked something about more than one. How many Manitowoc officers arrived first? And there's a pause. Question, 1 or 2? I don't recall the exact number of officers that arrived. Several? I made contact with one officer, and I remember the other officer walked to the vehicle. Well, you were watching carefully. You said to see what was going on, right? Correct. Were you watching because you were concerned that the police might somehow plant something in the vehicle? No. That thought never occurred to you, did it? No. Of course not. So your only concern was if anybody other than the police officers would come to the scene of the RAV4 and disturb it in any way, right? That was your focus? That was the focus, that we needed to make sure it was her vehicle. So your real interest at that point was if this was really Teresa's car. That is what you were concerned about. Correct. And at some point, did one of the officers come back and tell you that one of the Manitowoc officers, I don't recall if it was a Manitowoc officer or Calumet at that time. Okay, how long was it before the Calumet officers arrived on scene, if you know? I can only make an approximation. I would say it was a few minutes. And I'm going to skip through, I think, the rest of it, unless there's a tiny bit more. Here's redirect, but I don't think we'll skip. On to Bobby Dassey. This one's going to be interesting, so let's just roll right through it. So Bobby Dassey is on the stand. He comes right after Nicole Sturm leaves. He is the next witness called. So Bobby Dassey is now on the stand. Mr. Dassey, Mr. Kratz, is questioning him. Mr. Dassey, how old are you? 20. Can you tell us where you live? Right outside of Mishicot on Avery Road. Do you know the defendant, Steven Avery? Yes, he is my uncle. You have to speak up just a little bit. Yes, he is my uncle. Is he in the courtroom here at this time? Yes, he is. Would you point him out for the record and tell the judge where he is seated? Right over there to my right. Sitting next to his 2 attorneys? Yes. Judge, I would ask the record to reflect the defendant's identification. Court says the record will reflect the witness identified as Mr. Avery. Mr. Kratz continues his questioning. Mr. Dassey, do you know where, at least during the fall of 2005, prior to November 5th, where your uncle lived? Yes, he lived right next door to us. I will ask you to describe the kind of residence that, first of all, that you live in. We live in, I would say, a mobile home, a 3-bedroom house mobile home. On October 31st, 2005, who all lived in your home? My mom, my stepdad, and my 2 younger brothers. What were the names of your younger brothers? Blaine and Brendan. Blaine and Brandon? Brendan. Bobby, do you recall October 31st of 2005? Yes. Could you tell the jury if you were employed at that time? Yes, I was. I worked at Fisher Hamilton's third shift. What is Fisher Hamilton's? Do they make food? Is that I want to know this now. Sorry. Sometimes my brain gets distracted and I need to know. I mean, the name sounds familiar, so I know they... Oh, there's a C. Fisher Hamilton. What is that? Oh, no. Laboratories. Cabinets? They make cabinets? Okay. Fisher Hamilton cabinets. Maybe it's from... Oh, so they make furniture. Okay. They make like office furniture and things like that. So, yeah. All right. At least that's what I found. That's what came up first. I don't know if that's where he was working, but that's the first thing that came up. All right. So, third shift. All right. So, what time would you start work on any day? I would start at 10 at night and work until 6 in the morning. On October 31st of 2005, could you tell the jury if you were home during the daytime hours? Yes, I was. And how late or how long were you home until? I was home until 2:30 that day. What were you doing before 2:30? I was sleeping. When you say 2:30, are you talking about the afternoon or morning? In the afternoon. To your knowledge, Bobby, was anybody else at home with you? No. Do you remember anything unusual that happened at about 2:30 that afternoon? A vehicle had drove up and started taking pictures of the van. All right, let's back up just a minute. Were you still sleeping, or did you wake up? I was up by 2:30, yeah. At 2:30, did you see something? Yes. What did you see? I seen a vehicle pull up in our driveway. Do you recall which window you were looking from? Through the front window in front of the kitchen table. Bobby, could you describe that vehicle for the jury, please? It was a light green SUV, like a teal color. How do you know that it was about 2:30 in the afternoon? Because I was going hunting that night, so that was the time I wanted to get up. I got up at 2. I got up at 2 in the afternoon. All right, from which way did this blue or teal SUV drive in? As you were looking out the window. Towards the west, it would be. Can you tell the jury, please, from which direction your uncle's trailer is from your house? The west. Did you know what kind of SUV it was? Not at the time. All right. After seeing that vehicle driving up the roadway, tell the jury what you saw then. I seen Teresa Halbach get out of the vehicle and started taking pictures. What was she taking pictures of? A maroon van. A what? A maroon van. Can you tell us about this vehicle? Where was it parked? It was parked right in front of our house. So you told this jury it was Teresa Halbach that had taken the pictures. How do you know that? Now I know that. At the time, I didn't. What did this woman look like? She was about maybe 5'8". She had brown, shorter-like hair. She had a black coat on that went past the hips. How does he know that? That it went past the hips. That's a weird description, right? Like, who says she had a coat on past the hips? It's a weird way to describe it. She was wearing pants or a skirt? She was wearing pants. Now, about this van, what can you tell this jury about that van? It was a 1989 Plymouth Voyager. It had lots of miles on it. It was my mom's van. She had it for a couple of years. I don't know really much more about it. All right. As you were looking out the window, you said that you saw a woman taking pictures. Can you describe that, please? Well, I seen her take one picture of I hate his grammar. I seen her take one picture of the front of the van. Then I went in and took a shower. Okay, after seeing her taking some pictures, did you see her do anything else? She started, before I got in the shower, she actually started walking over to Steven's trailer. You could see that from your location? Yeah, through the window, yeah. You said walking towards Steven's trailer. What does that mean? She walked toward it, toward the door. How close to the door did she get before you stopped watching? Maybe 25 yards. Did you see her enter your uncle's trailer? No. Why not? Because I wanted to take a shower. I didn't pay no attention to it. This guy needs grammar lessons. All right. Was there anybody with her at that time? No. Was there anybody outside or making contact with her outside by the vehicle? No. After seeing this woman walking toward your uncle Steven's trailer, did you ever see this woman again? No. How long was it that you were in the shower? Do you remember? Maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes. That's a really quick shower, but I do know that guys take really, really quick showers, but that's really quick. I don't know. 3 minutes in the shower? I couldn't do that. All right, so, okay. What did you do then? Got dressed and left to go hunting. Now, when you left to go hunting, did you have a vehicle on the premises? Yes. Can you tell the jury what kind of vehicle it was? A black Chevy Blazer. Where was it parked? It was parked right between the house and the garage. About what time do you think you left to go hunting? Probably 20 to 3, quarter to 3. Quarter to 3? Bobby, how do you know that it was that time? Why is that time important as it relates to hunting? Well, that is when the deer start moving. They go on their feeding patterns then. Pardon? They go on their feeding patterns then. Where did you go hunting that day? It was actually maybe 2 miles up the road from my house. What kind of hunting was it? Deer hunting, bow hunting. Mr. Dassey, when you walked out to your vehicle to go bow hunting, did you notice if the teal or blue SUV was still in the driveway? Yes, it was. It was? Yes. Did you see Miss Halbach? No. Did you see any signs of her at all? Nope. What did you do then? I proceeded to leave. I got in my vehicle and I left. Did you hunt that day? Yes. Did you get anything that day? No. I seen 2 deer. I didn't get anything. No. All right. After hunting deer, what did you do? Came home, I laid down and went to sleep again. What time did you get home? Do you recall? It was 5-ish. Now, when you drove back home at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, was Miss Halbach's vehicle still visible? No. What did you do when you got home? I watched TV for a little bit, then I went to bed. Did you go to sleep? Yes. How long did you sleep? Probably 3 hours. Let me back up just a few minutes, Bobby. At any time during the morning or early afternoon hours, did you receive any phone calls at your residence? No. Not that I'm aware of. Why don't you tell us what that means, not that you're aware of? I'm a real deep sleeper. When I sleep, I don't hear nothing. This guy knows grammar. If the phone rings, would you have heard it? No. After getting up that afternoon, did you check for any messages or check the answering machine? No. Now you mentioned that while you were home that day, you didn't think anybody was home when you got up and when you left? After you went bow hunting, was anybody home at the time? No. Are you familiar with your brother's schedules? That is, your brothers that were at school? Yes. What brothers went to school at that time? Blaine and Brendan. Are you familiar with when Blaine and Brendan usually got home from school? They usually got home at 3:45. That would be 3:45? 3:45, yeah. So about an hour after you would have left to go hunting. Yes. And you got home at about 5 o'clock, Bobby. Were Blaine and Brendan home? I can't recall. All right. Now you have a 4th brother or a 3rd brother. Is that correct? Yes. What is his name? His name is Brian. Do you know where Brian was at that time? He was at work. Now, was Brian leaving at your home or living at your home at that time too? No. Where was Brian staying at that time? He lived in Manitowoc with his girlfriend. What was your mother's name? Barb. And is Barb related to Mr. Avery, if you know? Yes. How? Sister, brother and sister. When you got up and went bow hunting and left for bow hunting, was your mother home at that time? No, she wasn't. When you got home from deer hunting, was your mother home yet? No. Do you recall your mother coming home or seeing her that night? When I got up at 9 o'clock, I seen her all right. I think I asked this, Bobby. I'm sorry, but what time did you start work? I started work at 10. 10 p.m.? Yep, 10 p.m. Where is the place that you work? What city is it located in? Two Rivers. Bobby, the rest of that week, after the 31st of October, do you recall the rest of that week? Some of it. That weekend, that Friday and Saturday, the 4th and 5th, did other family members go somewhere that weekend? Yeah, they went up north. What does up north mean? Up to Crivets. Do you know what is up in Crivets? My grandpa has a cabin up there. So Al Avery, the father figure of the Avery family, he owns a cabin up in Crivets, which I assume is a town name. Do you know what family members went up north that weekend? Steven, Brendan went, and Brian went, and my grandpa and grandma and grandpa went up there too. Steven, Brendan, and Brian, you didn't go? Nope. Do you remember why you didn't go? I had to work that Sunday night. Let's go back to the 31st, your work schedule. You said that you worked at 10 o'clock that night. Is that right? Yes. Do you remember what time you left home for work? Probably about 9:30. At 9:30 p.m. on the 31st of October, did you see anything when you left your house? Not that I recall. Did you see anything by your uncles? I didn't even look. Now, that weekend, the Saturday, the 5th of November, do you recall that day at all? No. Do you remember something being found on the Avery property that Saturday? Her vehicle. This is the vehicle I'm talking about. Do you now remember that day? Not really. All right. Do you remember where you were when the vehicle was found? I was by my friend's house. What is your friend's first name? Mike. How were you notified, if you remember, that Teresa's vehicle was found on the Avery property? The TV and my mom. Now, Bobby, at the time, back on the 31st of October, did you have any pets? Yes, I had just got a black lab. She was about 2 months old. Was that an inside or outside dog? Inside. On the 31st of October, when you went hunting, did you take your dog with you? No. When you went to your friend Mike's house on Saturday the 5th, did you take your black lab with you? No. Were you able to get back home on the 5th of November? No. And this is because at this point, I think the law enforcement had seized the property with a warrant, and nobody was allowed on the property for 8 days, as multiple departments had just carte blanche freedom to walk all over Avery's property. They could plant things if they wanted to. It's a possibility. It makes no sense to me that everything was like spread out. Like, you know, there were multiple burn pits that were in the quarry, and then up in Steven's property, even in the Dassey burn barrel, there was remains. So, I mean, plus the license plate, like somebody took the license plate off and then put the license plate in another car. If you were Steven and you were trying to get rid of evidence, why would you be spreading it out? Wouldn't you like put it all in one place and then get rid of it? Plus you have a compactor that you know how to use and you were using that week. So it's not like he couldn't have gone and put all of the items, everything that he was trying to get rid of, including Teresa's body in the car and crushed it. He could have done that if he wanted to. No one would have ever found her in that way. I mean, they might have gone to the crusher and sniffed, but good luck finding real DNA evidence there. I don't know. But that's just an opinion. Sorry. I get on rants. These cases make me nuts. All right, so what did he say? They weren't able to get it back into the house. So tell us why not. They had the road all blocked off. They wouldn't let anybody in there. Who is they? The police officers. How about your dog? What happened to your black lab? I had to wait like 3 hours in order to get her. In order to get her? Yeah. How did you get her? I had to give my statement and everything. Then the investigator went in and got her. They got your dog for you? Basically, yeah. Now, Bobby, that's not right either. Now, Bobby, on the 3rd of November, that would be a Thursday, I believe, do you recall having a conversation with your Uncle Steven regarding a body? Yes. Could you tell us what your Uncle Steven told you that day? Well, my buddy Mike was over too, and he asked us, it sounded like he was joking, honestly. He asked us if we wanted to help get rid of a body. Your Uncle Steven asked you if you wanted to help get rid of a body? Yeah. What was your response? No. Bobby, are you familiar with a Suzuki Samurai? A gray Suzuki Samurai? Yes. Where was that vehicle, please? That was in Steven's garage. He was going to fix it up. On the 31st of October, do you recall where the Suzuki Samurai was? I don't even know. Do you remember generally where it was parked? No. If you don't know, that's fine. I don't know. All right, Bobby. Have you ever seen a fire like a bonfire by your Uncle Steven's? Yes. Do you remember the last time that you saw a bonfire by your uncle's? Maybe 2 weeks before that, before this all happened. Let me just ask you, is there some place where your Uncle Steven would have fires? Yeah, right behind his garage. Can you describe that area for us? It was just a mound of gravel that he basically burned stuff. If I could have a moment with counsel judge, at this time, Mr. Kratz consulted with other counsel about some photographs. Mr. Kratz returns, Bobby, we have had some photographs marked. I will have you identify some of these, in fact, all of them, to help the jury understand what we are talking about. The first exhibit I want you to take a look at, it's 37. Can you tell us what this is? While the witness was looking at the exhibit and before he began his answer, Mr. Strang made the following statement. Dean Strang says, while he is doing that, Your Honor, I have a concern that I want noted now and that I would like to raise outside of the jury's presence between the direct and cross of Mr. Dassey. So something important needs to be talked about without Dassey in the room. The court says, are you saying you would like to raise it out of the jury's presence now or later? No, not now. If we could take that up between the direct and the cross, that would be fine. Very well. Mr. Kratz says, tell us what Exhibit 37 is. That is Steven's trailer. All right. So Steven Avery's trailer. At which time Exhibit 37 was shown in the courtroom on the big screen? Okay. Question. I will let the jury now see Exhibit 37. Can you tell us kind of what else is shown there? What are we looking at? Well, the red thing is Steven's trailer. The garage is to the left. That is his truck sitting there. You know what? I know I have some of these images for you guys. So hold on one second. I know it just really helps to have an image in front of you. when they're talking about it. Sorry, I'm trying to find where all my images are. He said 37, right? I think this is it. There's going to be a bajillion exhibits that he wants to get through. So that is the trailer. That is exhibit 37 that he is talking about. So now you kind of know. I'm sure there's going to be more, so I'm going to have to pull up more, but for now, that's good. All right, so, well, the red thing is Steven's trailer. The garage is to the left. That is his truck sitting there. Here, you guys can look at that a little bit better. I don't see his truck. Oh, yeah, I do. It's in the very corner. Let me try to center this a little better. Okay. Well, the red thing is Steven's trailer. The garage is to the left. That is his truck sitting there, and that is his burning barrel right in front of the house. I don't see a barrel in front of the house. Am I blind? I am blind. Oh, maybe it's that blue thing next to his house? I don't know. All right. If I could have one moment at which time Mr. Kratz had a brief discussion with Mr. String in low tones, off the record, out of the hearing of everyone else in the courtroom, Mr. Kratz returns. I will give you a laser pointer. There is a button there. Using the laser pointer again, Bobby, can you show us where Steven's trailer is? Steven's trailer is right here. Okay, you mentioned a burn barrel. The burning barrel would be right there. Whose burn barrel is that? That would be Steven's. Where is Steven's garage? Right there. All right. The next exhibit is 38. So let me take this one down and give you 38. It's going to be a pain to do this for every single one, so I might not, but it's just another angle. All right. All right, the next exhibit is number 38. Can you tell us what this is, please? He pauses. It's in front of the next picture, 38. Okay, just another picture of Steven's trailer in his garage. It's a little different angle, is that right? Yes. I will now let the jury look at exhibit 38. Tell us what you are looking at, please. Basically just looking at Steven's trailer again in his garage and his truck. What is exhibit 39? It's a closer shot of Steven's trailer. There we go. It's a closer shot of Steven's trailer. Now we're letting the jury see exhibit 39. Where would Steven's main entrance be? How do you get in his trailer? So there's two doors, as you can see. Through the door right by the step right there. The record will reflect that you are pointing to the entrance furthest to the right of this trailer. Is that correct? Yes. Does the photograph help you, or could you describe for the jury about how close Ms. Halbach was to that trailer when you stopped watching her approach? She was probably right about there. Looking which way? Towards the trailer west. So you miss out on certain things because you don't see these witnesses saying it themselves, because I would really like to know how he answered these questions, because I'm just reading what's on the paper, but there's tones and things that I don't know happened, and facial expressions and things like that I can't recreate for you guys, and nor would I even know how. But so yeah, it's a little different. Anyways, all right, so trailer to the west. Okay, exhibit 40. Would you describe what that is, please? Just a closer view of Steven's front door. That is the door we are talking about. So we want 40 now. Jeez Louise. Okay, so there's his door. Now we know it's his door. So Sorry, it's a lot of flipping back and forth. Would you describe what this is, please? Just a closer look of Steven's door. Mr. Kratz says, we left the batteries here, Judge. The photographs which have been shown on the large screen in the courtroom were not able to be seen until new batteries were installed. Okay. Mr. Kratz continues his questioning. Well, we were getting new batteries. I will ask you some other questions, Bobby. First of all, how often would your Uncle Steven have fires at his property? Maybe 1 or 2 every month. You mentioned that Steven you identified at least Steven's garage. Who uses Steven's garage? Steven does. Does anybody else have access to it? At that time, no. All right, and I think that this is a lie. I think that other people use that garage too, but it's neither here nor there because there's no trace of Teresa in it, so it doesn't matter. All right, even though the batteries are not changed yet or they are kind of going bad, we will do the best we can until we get some new ones. This is Exhibit 40 that we have identified. What are we looking at? That's Steven's door, the main entrance. There is what looks like a deck that goes around the trailer. Can you explain that, please? Yes, it is basically a deck that runs around the whole trailer. He has got a little plateau at the end. All right. Do you see the next picture in front of you? Exhibit 7? Or 7. Where did I get 7? Exhibit 41. And let me get you Exhibit 41. I already downloaded a bunch of these, but is that his burn barrel? That's plastic. That can't be his burn barrel. All right, let's see what Bobby Dassey has to say about it. All right, so can you tell us about that? What are we looking at? That's just another door. Now we're on 41. Is that the door that you are talking about? Do you know where that door goes? It goes into the hallway of the trailer closest to the bedroom in the back. So this back door. All right, so on the 31st of October, did you have keys to Steven's trailer? No. Do you know if anyone else from your home had keys to his trailer? No. No, you don't know, or no, they didn't. No one did. All right, the next exhibit in front of you is Exhibit 42. Tell us what it is. And I'm going to get it for you. 42. So that's the back of his trailer. Wow, his deck really does go all the way around. It's a pretty sweet deck. All right, so, whoops. This is the back side. The side faces north. That is the back of Steven's trailer. That is his pool. That is his pool. Where's his pool? I don't see a pool. He has a pool. Now there is a back patio door on this trailer. Yes. Can you show us that, please? That would be right here. You can see it. Like a big sliding glass door. Mr. Kratz, just so the record is clear, Judge, he is pointing at what would be just about the very middle of the trailer. So, yeah, you can see it right in the middle. I can't point to it from the way that I have the photos in here, so unfortunately you're going to have to find it yourself. It's right smack dab in the middle. All right, so Mr. Kratz, just so the record is clear, blah, blah, blah. That's the patio door. Is that correct, Bobby? Yes. What kind of pool is that? Just a pool that is like 4 feet deep? Okay, Exhibit 43 is the next exhibit in front of you. Can you tell us what this is? Just another view of the back of Steven's trailer. Now we will let the jury take a look. It's a different angle, pretty much the same as Exhibit 42. Let me see if I can find it. Come on. I'm trying to turn that other photo off and it's not working. All right. Are we on 44? 43? No, I don't remember. We just did 43, so 44. On to 44. So that is the side of his garage, I guess. Now you can see the pool. Isn't that the pool in the front? I don't know. I'm confused. Are these not right? They're pretty much, I mean, they are, but he's like pointing to a pool that I couldn't tell. All right. Anyways, continuing on with the transcripts. Okay, Exhibit 40. Wait. Exhibit 43 is the next exhibit in front of you. Can you tell us what this is? Just another view of the back of Steven's trailer. Now we will let the jury take it. Okay. So, which way have we moved around? Or the camera, which way? Yeah, it has moved to the right, south. Exhibit 43 shows, so 43 shows Steven's back patio door. Yes. Can you show that to us? It's right here now behind Steven's trailer. Behind Steven's garage, did Steven have a doghouse? Yes. Does Exhibit 43 show that? Yes. If you could point out the doghouse for us, please. I think it must be over on the side. Where I can't really see it. It's like hard to see. Directly behind the doghouse, what is that area? That would be the burning pit. You had mentioned, Bobby, before about seeing the fires at Steven's. Where on this property did you see those fires? Right there. Directly behind his garage? Yes. The next exhibit that we are asking you to identify is Exhibit 44. Tell us what that is, please. This is another shot of, now we're on to 44. Okay, hold on. That's 44. The next exhibit is 44. This is another shot of Steven's house and the garage. Oh, now you can see the doghouse a lot better. Basically, you are looking at Steven's trailer, again, the garage and the doghouse and his truck. Again, right there is where he had his burn pit. His burning pit? Yeah. Now, this exhibit, that is 44, do you know about where this was taken from? This actually was taken from right in front of our house. Is this east or west or north or south of the Steven's trailer? Do you know? It would be east. Okay, the next exhibit is 45. Can you tell us what that is? Let me find 45. I didn't know he was bringing in all of these exhibits with Bobby, but Bobby is the key witness, or one of the key star witnesses for the state. All right, so here's 45. Can you tell us what that is, please? That is a picture of Steven's garage. Again, now that the jury can see exhibit number 45, why don't you take the laser pointer and tell us what we are looking at? Basically, that is just Steven's garage again and his truck. That is the door he mainly used to the garage. That is what? You have to speak up. That is the door he mainly used for the garage. Kind of a service door? Yeah. All right. The next exhibit is number 46. Can you tell us what that is, please? All right, let me get number 46. This is crazy. All these stupid things. All right. Exhibits. All right, so here's a picture of his garage. As you can see, there is like 7 years of dust on that car and on many other things in that garage. It ain't very clean, and it doesn't look like someone has been unalived in there. At least, there's no way to clean all of Teresa's left remains that are left behind if her life was really taken in that garage. There's no way to clean all of that and then leave 7 years of dust layered on top of everything. It's just impossible. But anyways. And I'm not saying that Steven didn't do it either. I'm just saying with what the state has laid out in front of us, we cannot entirely be sure that Steven did it at this point in time. At least not in the way that, at least not, enough to put him behind bars for the rest of his life. All right. Sorry, I'm reorganizing myself. I'm getting comfier here. My hips are hurting because I've been sitting up. Sorry, guys. All right, so that is 46. Can you explain what we're looking at here? Just another picture of Steven's garage. Is the service door open or closed? It's open. What, that burning pit or burn area, can you tell us where that is on this picture? It would be right there. Wait, we're on 46. Their 46 and my 46 are not the same. I do not know. All right. It would be right there where that white gravel is. Right behind the garage? Yes. What about Exhibit 47? A picture of Steven's burning pit. I'm not going to continue this because they're not even matching up. All right, so, well, they are, but some of the descriptions aren't exactly what we're seeing. All right, so a picture of Steven's burning pit. All right, now that the jury can see Exhibit 47, why don't you tell us what we're looking at? You are looking at Steven's burning pit directly behind the garage. Do you recognize anything else in this picture? There is a seat. What do you mean a seat? From a vehicle right there, and his trailer is there. The dog coop is there. All right, so let me pull it up because I have it. 47. Doesn't want to cooperate. It's a zoomed in picture. That's better. Okay, so that is Steven's burn pit. You can see the remnants remaining of a car seat. You see the metal frame that's left behind. And the dog coop is where? He said the dog coop is where? I don't know. It's not hidden. All right. What do you mean a seat from a vehicle right there and his trailer is there, the dog coop is there. Bobby, have you seen the seat out there by your uncle's house before? Not that I can recall. Now on Exhibit 47, if you can show us more specifically, sorry. Where was I? Not that I recall. All right, now on Exhibit 47, if you can show us more specifically where the burning happened, where the burn area is, right around there. There is a blackened area which would be just west and just right of the car seat. Is that the place that you're pointing? Yes. What is the next exhibit? The picture directly behind Steven's garage. That is Exhibit 48, is that right? Yes. Now that the jury can see Exhibit 48, tell us what we're looking at. Basically, the back of Steven's trailer. There is the dog coop again. That is where his burn pit would be. The dog, what? The dog coop. Oh my God. Why does he keep asking? What? Is he deaf? I mean, I'm deaf, so I can't be mad, but I ask what all the time. Where is Steven's garage? Right there. That is the building to the right behind of the exhibit. Is that right? I'm going to kind of skim through some of these just because it's getting to be really annoying. Just looking at the same picture as before, that doghouse, the garage, his trailer, that is where the burning pit would be. What is the next exhibit? 50, a picture of the burning pit, just a different angle. Okay, I know that here they talk about the dog. That is his dog. Do you know the name of that dog? His name is Bear. There are reports that Bear was so mean he wouldn't let any of the canine search and rescue dogs in the area where the burn pit was, and didn't like officers around his premises. Well, yeah, you guys are strangers on his property. Alrighty. Let's skip through some of these things because a lot of it's just like giving us foundation. All right, so I don't know if you are able to answer this, Bobby, but I will ask you, what was Bear's personality or demeanor like? If you know, do you know what I'm asking you? He was really calm. The next picture, so Ken Kratz didn't get what he wanted out of that because he wanted him to say he was really aggressive, because they were all trying to say he was aggressive toward law enforcement and the canine search and rescue team. All right, so he was really calm. Okay, so the next exhibit, I think they go through like 78 exhibits. So I'm going to kind of skip. Yeah, they're still going through exhibits. Holy cow. All right, maybe this is important here. Yeah. All right, so let's take a picture, that is a picture of our house, my mom's house. So he gets a picture of his house. Let's talk about that a little bit. Now that the jury can see Exhibit 54, please take the laser. So let me go grab 54. This is so annoying. Oh, I don't have it. I have to download it now. 54. I'm trying, guys. Just so you can kind of have a point of reference. I feel like there is a lot of foundation here that he's throwing it in. That's how he's getting all his exhibits in, which is a good way, especially, somebody who's got firsthand experience and knowledge of seeing the property. It's a little big. Let's shrink it. All right, so this is the trailer that Bobby and his family live in. The John Does, at the time, they're John Does. No. Okay, this is... This is annoying. Sorry, guys. Trying to move stuff and it's not cooperating for me right now. Alright, so this is the trailer that Bobby lives in. He's got some testimony about it that might be important here. So that's a picture of our house, my mom's. Let's talk about this a little bit now that the jury can see 54. Please take the laser pointer and tell them what you are looking at. This is basically my mom's house. This is our golf cart. So they have a golf cart. This would be the side of the house to the farthest west. The burning barrels would be right back here. You can't see them on there. Could you tell us or show us in this picture the window that you were looking out when you watched Ms. Halbach? That window right there. Okay, and I know that the vehicle for sale is not shown on this picture, but which direction was it? Can you kind of show us? It would be right over there. To the right, off screen, yes. The next exhibit is 54. Can you tell us what this is? That would be my mom's answering machine. Who cares about that? All right. Where was that located? In our living room. Whoops, I just totally moved my screen. Okay, in our living room. Again, now that the jury is able to see Exhibit 55, what kind of answering machine was it? Do you know? No. Is there a phone that went with it? Yes. Where did the phone go? I don't know. But what I mean is, was the phone placed on a cradle or something on this phone? Yes. Where is that? It's not there. Okay. Had you ever used that answering machine? No, I don't use it at all. Have you ever retrieved a message from that answering machine? Yes. How do you retrieve a message from it? You just hit play. Didn't he just say that he doesn't mess with it at all? He doesn't use it at all, but he does listen to messages, so I guess he uses it. You just hit play. The next exhibit for the jury is Exhibit 56. Have you ever seen that before? Yes. That would be my grandmother's. All right, just a second. I think Mr. Kratz is 10:30. I think we will take our morning break. We can certainly do that, Judge. I will remind you again, members of the jury, don't discuss the case, blah, 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 blah. The court, we are now back. Court says you may be seated. Mr. Kratz, do you have something first? So now this is outside of the presence of the jury, I believe. The jury left the courtroom, then the following proceedings continued immediately in the courtroom outside the presence of the jury. Things might get crazy here. All right, so the court says, go ahead, Mr. Kratz. Yes, since there are several photos, I believe we have received a stipulation as to their admissibility. I understand that each should be shown one at a time, but I think the court knows the technological limitations that we are having trying to toggle through this remote control so that only one is showing at a time or only after Mr. Dassey identifies what it is. I'm wondering if there is a better way or if there is an opportunity that we may show these in a more efficient fashion, but perhaps one photo after another without having to go to the blue screen every time. I can certainly do that. It's Mr. Strang's call. I understand that, Judge. This is simply a request to make it a little easier for the jury to watch these and look at these exhibits, which I believe have been stipulated as to their admissibility. Mr. Strang? I think we should continue to do it this way. There is a concern, or I imagine there are many witnesses who will have as many photographs to go through. The concern is not the authenticity of the photographs or their admissibility, but rather the kind of things that appear on the screen. When Mr. Kratz had the laptop on his desk, he can stop the projecting of them there before one exhibit has been selected. And this is just a good method to do it because we may get some photos where, for some reason or not, they ought not to be published to the jury, whether because the witness can't identify it or whatever reason. The court says, all right. Mr. Kratz says, that's fine. All I can do is ask, Judge. I understand. The court says, Mr. Strang, was there something else you wish to take up? Mr. Strang says, yes, there was. There is a matter that I raised and noted that I wanted it recorded that I had raised the matter, but it could wait for our break to raise it. I wanted to do some checking through the discovery too before I did it. My recollection of Bobby Dassey's testimony was that he said that on Thursday, November 3rd, 2005, in the presence of Bobby Dassey and his friend Mike, he didn't identify him further than as Mike, that Steven Avery asked if they wanted to help get rid of a body, or the body. I'm not clear. I didn't write this down better. But at the time, Bobby said that he thought Steve was joking about that, and it was shortly after that testimony that I interjected briefly as I did. We have no written summary of an interview of Bobby Dassey in which that statement is recited. So the immediate concern was disclosure of oral statements of the defendant and the state intends to use at trial, I think, under section something. We do have a Calumet County Sheriff's Department report of a contact with Michael Osmondson, where for counsel's benefit and the courts is page 259 of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department report. That report, which is not an interview of Bobby Dassey, recites a statement of this Michael Osmondson that he and Bobby were inside the Dassey garage when Steven came over, and he goes on from there. Oh, so you're impeaching him about the fact that nobody goes into Steven's garage, and just he's lying about things. All right, or not being truthful. I think probably here the best thing for me to do, that I will do, is just read this for the court's benefit now and make this a court exhibit, page 259 of the report. The first chance I get, we will make a copy of it. I will read the relevant paragraph in its entirety. Michael indicated the only time he had been at the Avery property between 10:31 and 11:14 in 2005 was on Thursday the 10th. So between the 31st of October and the 14th of November, he said he was there on Thursday the 10th. He stated he and Bobby were inside the Dassey garage when Steven came over. Michael indicated he was aware Steven was one of the last people to see the missing girl and jokingly asked Steven if Steven had her, the missing girl, in a closet. At that point, Steven asked Michael if Michael wanted to help bury the body, and they laughed about this together. Michael stated he had just learned about the missing girl on the Tuesday prior to that. He once again indicated he thought Steven might have been the last one to see the missing girl. End of the relevant paragraph. Although the following one-sentence paragraph says, according to Michael, Steven stated people go missing all the time, and this girl may have left, or may, quote, have left for Mexico, period, close quote. Now, although we have been told that Bobby is in the garage at the same time, there is no indication that Bobby overhears this statement. Moreover, there was a different context for the statement laid out here than what Bobby gave. That is, Michael Osmondson himself is joking with Steven, jesting with him about having a girl in the closet. This is clearly a joking response to the jest. We have help bury the body instead of help get rid of the body. But most significant of all, this conversation clearly takes place on Thursday, November 10th, 2005, not Thursday, November 3rd, 2005, and Michael Osmondson said that he had just learned about the missing girl on the Tuesday prior to that. Well, that has to be Tuesday, November 8th, because on November 1st, no one had reported Teresa Halbach missing. Bam. Lawyered. I was not concerned about Michael Osmondson being a witness in this case. Why? Because Steven Avery was arrested on November 9th, and he has been continuously in custody since then, and was not in the Dassey garage or the Jonda garage or anyone else's garage on Thursday, November 10th. So who's lying? Now we have a different witness to whom this statement has never been attributed, of which we have no summary identifying him as someone who overheard the statement or identifying a statement as having been Bobby Dassey as the individual identified, or critically identifying the statement as having been made on November 3rd. So, they can't make a foundation as to when the statement was made, as a time when Steven Avery was not in custody, was at home, or in the salvage yard property, and the implication is this may have been before Teresa Halbach is even reported missing. In large part, the implication arises because we didn't have the joke that was made to Steven Avery as the precursor of this. So what I'm left with is this jury having heard testimony from the first blood relative of Mr. Avery to testify here, his nephew and next-door neighbor, that amounts to a confession of a crime, and under the circumstances, although technically because Bobby is listed in the report of contact with Michael Osmondson, technically, the discovery statute here may have been complied with. Technically. I have not overlooked at the case, or have not looked at the case law under the discovery statutes, but setting that aside, this comes as an unfair surprise. It's materially different than the summary or the statement of which we have been given notice. There is no way to unwind this from the jurors' minds. It has enormous unfair prejudicial impact. I can think of no remedy short of asking for a mistrial on the introduction of this testimony by the state on the direct examination of Bobby Dassey without having been invited by the defense or the defense otherwise having opened the door or done anything to which you could say this would be an invited response. I move therefore for a mistrial on the grounds I have explained. Alrighty, so Bobby Dassey is not on the stand anymore, so let's hide him. We'll come back to him. All right, so where were we? Mr. Kratz, now your response. Well, Judge, after Mr. Strang concedes that the discovery statute was complied with, or I guess in his words, may very well have been complied with, I will leave the legal analysis to the court. A summary of this conversation was provided, and although it appears that this Michael fellow got the Thursday wrong as far as being the 3rd versus the 10th, because Mr. Strang is correct that as of the 10th, Steven Avery was in custody. This witness did testify consistently with what the story was, that he believed his uncle Stephen was joking, that it was said in a joking manner, and if Mr. Strang wishes to inquire as to the context of it, he may do so on cross-examination. This is what cross-examination is for. It certainly does not rise to the level of material that rises a mistrial. We would ask that the court not do that. The court says, before I go back to Mr. Strang, did I understand that the state indicated they gave that to the defense, not only the Michael Osmondson statement, but also information that Mr. Dassey would testify as he did today? I thought that is what I heard you start to say. Mr. Kratz says, no, he got page 259 with all of the other discovery, including Mr. Dassey's. I don't know if the conversation is included in Mr. Dassey's report, but it was in Mr. Osmondson's. Mr. Strang says, this page 259 is the only notice I had of any discovery, any conversation of anything at all in any form. Indeed, I had asked for any statements of Bobby Dassey. I see no mention of a Mike or Michael Osmondson anywhere in the report itself. That concerns what Bobby Dassey had to say. So there, I will tell you, this caught me completely unaware. Mr. Kratz says, the court says, Mr. Kratz, I guess I'm not sure. What was the state expecting, that Mr. Dassey was going to testify to a different date today, to the 10th rather than the 3rd? Mr. Kratz says, I don't understand the question, Judge. It was the 3rd. This witness testified that this conversation with Mike, because Stephen was not in custody then, this witness testified it was on the 3rd. The court says, right, but it's my understanding that what I have been told, and you folks have the benefit of that here. I have not seen the report. That is the report from Mr. Osmondson that indicated the conversation took place on the 10th. Mr. Kratz says, we will probably have to get page 259. I don't have that in here. Perhaps I can make a better record about that. Perhaps the court can read all of page 259. Mr. Strang says, Mr. Strang says, Mr. Buting, I think I can go across the hall to the clerk's office and get copies of page 259 for everyone, including the court, the council, and the state. The court says, all right, we will take our break. Somebody can have the document brought back to my chambers. I will take a look at it. Mr. Kratz says, that's fine. So after a short recess, The following proceedings took place in the courtroom outside the presence of the jury. The court says you may be seated. Is there anything further from either party concerning the defense motion? Mr. Strang says, I have one thing to add, Your Honor. This is because this is serious and I want to get it right. I did not say this until I double checked on the break. But the further reason that I was not concerned and set aside the possibility of the Osmondson statement or the oral statement of the defendant through Osmondson coming in is that the state does not list Michael Osmondson on their witness list. They're trying to play little tricks there to hide their witnesses and hide the statements and get the statements in through different witnesses that aren't on their witness list. Say that 10 times fast. All right, so they didn't get the witness list. Neither did the defense. His name nowhere appears on either party's witness list. And what we have here then on reviewing this is a materially different statement made at an entirely different time and impossible to have been made on the day that Mr. Osmondson says it was made that day. So it's not entirely consistent in the sense that he expresses no uncertainty about it having been November 10th, Thursday, and says that is because he had learned of Teresa Halbach being missing on the preceding Tuesday, which only could mean not earlier that Tuesday, November 8th, as the court notes. On the record, I can stand. Mr. Kratz? Thank you, Judge. First of all, the court needs to note there was no violation, at least a statutory discovery violation. The fact that Mr. Strang indicates the impossibility of November 10th, 05 as being the date of this conversation actually plays in the state's favor and does beg the question why the defense is claiming surprise. Why didn't they do something with this statement? The defense had this information available to them in the context and the subject matter, and if the dates are wrong, there are many remedies available to the defense. They could have interviewed Osmondson and apparently have chosen not to. They probably didn't know they needed to because of the way that you're hiding your statements and getting your statements in through other individuals. They certainly have had access to Bobby Dassey and the entire Dassey family, and I don't know if Mr. Strang had indicated or is representing that they did not interview Bobby Dassey, but that I think should be a part of the record as well. Secondly, and next, it's important to note the jury is not going to be misled at all in this case. A mistrial is reserved as this court knows, in serious cases of prosecutorial misconduct or breach, or when some other remedy is not going to be available. Given the fact there is no violation, no discovery violation, certainly a mistrial is not at all appropriate. Let me offer, if there are concerns that the court still has, if the court believes that on cross-examination cannot be dealt with, Mr. Strang still has available to him either to interview Mr. Dassey if the court wants to grant a brief continuance, or to have Mr. Dassey come back to shore this up, or interview Mr. Osmondson, or to secure Mr. Osmondson's appearance. But the notice of the conversation was provided. The fact that defense did nothing with it, the fact that defense failed to interview or failed to appreciate, even if every belief was that it was in a joking manner, the poor joke, that the off-color remark that Mr. Avery apparently made regarding the remains of Ms. Halbach, I think that is something perhaps that the defense should have done. But it's not something the court should attribute to the state, nor should a mistrial be the remedy for the court chooses the court chooses in this case. This is all I have to say. Mr. Strang, first, we have not interviewed Bobby Dassey. Second, the report, which the court now has a copy of, and I asked to be made part of the court record as a court exhibit again, is that he, Michael, and Bobby were inside the Dassey garage but from that point forward describes this as a conversation between Michael and Steven. So the remedy here is not to repeat this statement again and again in front of the jury or call other witnesses to change the date. The remedy here is a mistrial or something that effectively would erase this testimony from the jury's consideration because, again, it's materially different statement under different circumstances on a different date that has altogether different meaning, and it becomes something something an unaliver would have done. Sorry, I'm going to rearrange my seat here. My hips starting to really get sore. All right, so different meaning, and it becomes something a life ender would have done as we sit here. As the statement was presented to us, it was impossible to have been made. It was false on its face. So if there were a remedy short of a mistrial, and I don't think that there is, but if there were a remedy short of a mistrial, it would be something like the court instructing the members of the jury that testimony was given concerning a statement that Mr. Avery supposedly made to Bobby and his friend on November 3rd, and that the statement was not made. The testimony was false. It was not made, and the testimony about it was false. And at that point, the court, I think, if it were going to adopt a remedy short of a mistrial, would roll into it with that instruction, and connect it with the falsus in uno instruction. That must be like that must be Latin, like false, something, I don't know, false instruction for false testimony or something. I don't know. All right, so I'm guessing what it means. I have no idea. Falsus in uno instruction about Bobby Dassey's testimony, inviting but not instructing the jury that it may be disregarded as false. Let's look that up while I'm here. So what is it called? Falsus. False in one thing, false in everything is this Latin. It's a Latin phrase. Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus, which means false in one thing, false in everything. So at common law, it is a legal principle that a witness who falsely testifies about one matter is not credible to testify about any other matter. While many common law jurisdictions reject categorical application of the rule, the doctrine survives in some American courts. Interesting. So it's not really widely accepted, but he's calling for it. About Bobby's testimony, inviting but not instructing the jury that it may disregard as false all of Bobby Dassey's testimony because of his false testimony that he's done at this point. I don't know if that would suffice, but that comes much closer to a remedy than repeating it and making the statement over and over again on cross-examination or with another witness in front of the jury. I don't have case law on hand on whether the page 259 of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department report technically suffices under section 971.231B or not. I'm assuming here for the sake of argument because we are told that Bobby is somewhere in the garage when the statement purportedly is made. I'm assuming for the sake of argument that the state is just on the right side of the line on discovery, but I have also laid out the practical problems and a good argument could be made, and I will make it. If there is a case law to support it, a good argument can be made that the statement testified to here is so materially different in date, time, and content that the statement of which we were given notice that they are not the same oral statement. But in any event, I don't think the court has to resolve that. The damages and the problems are clear and are serious. The court says, all right, the starting point here is the discovery statute that he already named. The statute requires that the prosecution provide to the defense a written summary of all oral statements of the defendant. That would be statements of Mr. Avery with the district attorney, which the district attorney plans to use in the course of the trial, and the names of witnesses who the defendant made the oral statements to. In this case, the court is satisfied that at least literally the statute has been complied with, and the disputed testimony involves a statement attributed to the defendant, and there is no dispute that the discovery information provided by the state to the defense included information indicating that both Mr. Osmundson and Bobby Dassey were present at the time the defendant made the statement. What is different is the date on which the statement was made, and as noted by defense counsel in his argument, that can have a significant difference here because it can affect the credibility of the statements themselves. I would note at the outset that in terms of assessing the problems presented to the defense here, both from page 259, which was presented to the court, and based on the testimony of Mr. Dassey, both of the witnesses to the defendant's statement indicated that they thought he was just joking at that time. That is another element in which the information provided to the defense and the testimony given today on the witness stand are consistent with each other. I do agree that I would not fault the defense saying they didn't take the opportunity to simply follow up on the information on page 259, because by reading page 259, they would have been led to believe that the information contained could have been easily attacked on the basis the defendant could not have made that statement on November 10th. I need a break. But they did have information to suggest the statement was made. It's not unusual for a witness to be mistaken about dates. In the court's opinion, I think that the defense is entitled to some consideration in the form of having an adequate opportunity to prepare to cross-examine the witness about the statement that was made today. I don't believe, first of all, there was, strictly speaking, a violation, and secondly, given the nature of the testimony, that this statement was made in jest, it would not rise to the level of something that would warrant the granting of a mistrial. The court would be inclined to grant the defense an opportunity, first of all, to cross-examine the witness in an attempt to attack the statement today in the defense, if the defense wishes. The court will also require the state to make the witness available for the defense to consult at a later date if the defense feels it needs additional time in which to prepare to cross-examine the witness on this issue. The court may also consider giving an instruction to the jury at some later point if it is deemed to be warranted, but I think it's premature at this stage to speculate as to whether or not such an instruction may be required or what the content of such an instruction might be. So I am giving the defense an alternative opportunity. You are free to cross-examine the witness today. You are free to also, if you cross-examine him today, to have him brought back at a later date after you have had more time to digest the testimony today. You can also postpone your cross-examination of the witness if you wish. Mr. Strang says, I understand the court's rulings. I think those were mostly reasonable rulings for the most part. He gave him a couple of options. I like that. So Mr. Strang said, I understand the court's rulings. Those are three choices that present some complicated weighing for us to do. I guess as a first step, what I would like to do is have 30 minutes or something to talk with Mr. Buning about that. And I would like at this point the court to, until Mr. Dassey has completed whatever testimony he is going to give in this case, I would like the court to order that the state and any agent of the state, including members of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department or either of the two lead investigators or anyone acting on their behalf, so Weigert or Fassbender or anyone acting on their behalf, not discuss with Bobby Dassey any aspects of his testimony, have no contact with him about his testimony actually given already, or anticipated further on direct or cross-examination. So nobody talked to Bobby about his testimony until he's done, basically, until I've finished my cross-examination. So in other words, I would like him sequestered. That agents of the state would include the district attorney's office, anyone involved on the prosecution side of the case or acting at the prosecution's direction, and I also will not talk to Mr. Dassey either without approaching the court and telling the court and counsel that we intend or we are asking to be able to interview him while his testimony is ongoing, in the sense that he has not been released from his appearance here. But I would like to, at a minimum, to freeze the frame, so to speak, where it is, and to start with, like I said, I think 30 minutes for Mr. Buting and I to talk about which of the three options the court has afforded us immediately we best should choose in representing Steven Avery. Mr. Kratz, I do have a suggestion, Judge. My direct examination of Bobby, as the court may have already predicted, will be concluded with Bobby identifying the balance of the photos that are in front of him. I don't intend to ask him any other questions. That seems to be seamless enough that it would allow Mr. Strang an opportunity over the lunch hour. Perhaps the court could even grant a little extension over the lunch hour for the defense to discuss their strategy, so the jury could at least hear the rest of the direct testimony, which is just the identification of the other photographs and exhibits. I think that would be fair of Mr. Strang to give him an opportunity to discuss that. Mr. Strang says, well, if it's really just finishing identifying the photos and there is no summary or wind up at the end, then that is a reasonable suggestion. I think we could, if I could get 90 minutes for lunch today, Mr. Buting and I could incorporate this discussion I'm suggesting we need to have over the lunch hour. So I don't have any quarrel if I understand Bobby Dassey really does end on direct examination when the last photograph is identified and explained. Mr. Kratz says, counsel has just reminded me, Judge, that if during the course of Bobby's identification of some of the photographs he says something, I may ask a clarifying question that may raise some areas of inquiry. So although my intent is to ask about these photographs and what is depicted in them, it's possible that it could go into other areas of information on the property and the like, but I certainly don't envision revisiting this statement issue. But I was just trying to come up with a suggestion that could at least complete the direct examination before lunch. Mr. Strang, perhaps it would be useful to know, Your Honor, or Mr. Strang is saying this, sorry. Perhaps it would be useful to know, Your Honor, how many photographs we have left to go, and about what time the prosecution expects its continued direct examination will continue, or will consume. That's not the right word. Anyways, all right, so Mr. Kratz, I think I have 20 pictures left, Judge. I think the questions will be what you've heard so far is what we are looking at. Okay, so why don't we finish up on that, take our lunch break, and I don't think I would like a ruling, Mr. Strang says, and I do think I would like a ruling about, I know I would like a ruling on my request that Mr. Dassey at this point until a further order of the court not be questioned in any way by any agent of the state. He will have to have some identical contact with Julie Leverins, who is the victim witness coordinator from the Calumet County District Attorney's Office. I don't have any practical objection to that. When does he need to be back, or whatever? All right, so any objection from the state? No. All right. The court will order that the attorney or representative of either side have any contact with Mr. Dassey that no attorney or representative of either side have any contact with Mr. Dassey until his testimony is completed, and the victim witness coordinator is not to discuss any aspect of his testimony with him. So no one talked to Bobby about his testimony. With that, I believe we can bring the jury back in and complete the direct examination of Mr. Dassey. So things are pretty spicy with Bobby, and we've barely even gotten through a whole lot here. So now we're going to continue on with direct examination. Mr. Kratz, at this time, you can resume your direct examination. Thank you. Bobby, we left off on Exhibit 56. That was in front of you. I think you started to tell us what 56 was. Can you tell us again, please? That's my grandma's house. Now that the jury can see 56, where is your grandma's house located in relationship to you, to the west? Okay, I will see an overview, or we will see an overview, or at least the jury has. But how far down that road is your grandma's trailer located? Do you know? Maybe 6/10 of a mile? And then they have a road or more of a long driveway. Is that correct? Yes. Yes, it's a long driveway. The next exhibit is number 57. Can you tell us what that is, please? It's another picture of my grandma's house from a different angle. Yes. And again, now that the jury can see exhibit 57, how are we looking at her trailer? That would be, if you are coming into the driveway, that would be the east side of it, the northwest side of it. So if you're coming from the main road on Highway 147, you're coming towards the end of it. Yes, that would be, yes, that would be the front. What is the next exhibit? 58. That is an office area inside the shop of the salvage yard. Now, I get that picture up if I can, in fact, do that. You're talking about the shop. Where do they do all of their business? Or where they do all of their business, where they fix the cars. On the Avery salvage property, there is other than just residence. Is that correct? Yes. Do you know how many other buildings there are other than residences? 3. Exhibit number 58, is that one of them? Yes. The main office area. If somebody did business with the salvage place, he would come into this room here. Yes. All right, tell us what exhibit 59 is. Just another picture of the Plymouth Voyager van. My jaw is like starting to hurt from talking so much. Sorry. All right, so just another picture of the Plymouth Voyager van. Now, exhibit 59. They have so many exhibits. Let's skim through. Can you show us with the laser pointer where your mother's and your home would be located in relationship to this picture? It would be on the left of this. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So the van is a maroon van. Again, the van that you saw Teresa taking pictures of. Yes. Objection asked and answered. The testimony is getting cumulative, Your Honor. Mr. Kratz, Judge, although I understand, I have asked the questions. These are all different angles. They will have use later in the trial, I suspect, with this picture. That you don't have to put in all of them with the you don't have to do it one by one, do you? I don't know. Mr. Kratz says, Judge, although I understand, I have asked the questions. These are all different angles. They will have a use later in the trial. I suspect with this picture that is self-explanatory. The court says, I will allow the one question to put the picture in context. Mr. Kratz says, that was the vehicle that Teresa was taking a picture of. Yes. All right. The next exhibit is exhibit 60. That is another picture of the van, just a different angle. What we are showing on the screen is exhibit 60. Mr. Strang, objection, cumulative, and a waste of time. I I agree. The court says, are you referring to the description of the photo or the photo itself? Mr. Strang says the photo and the description of it. The court says, it's my understanding at this time we are going through these photos because they may be used later. It's a bit different for the court to say in advance that a photo may be a waste of time since I don't know the purpose for which it is being used. So I'm not going to rule on the objection for now. All right. Mr. Kratz continues. Exhibit 61, another picture of the van. Oh my God. What is the background of 61? That's my mom's house. When looking at Exhibit 61, could you explain, or could you point out in the picture, or excuse me, the window that you looked out and watched things from? It would be the window right there, the leftmost window on the trailer. Is that correct? Yes. Exhibit 62 is the front of, what is it? That would be Steven's car. What kind of car is it? A Pontiac Grand Am. You mentioned that Steven had a truck as well, yes? Yeah, or yes. So we saw that in a previous picture, is that correct? Yes. This blue car, that Grand Am, is obviously a different vehicle. Did Steven drive this car? Yes. What is Exhibit 63? That would be the yard's flatbed, the salvage yard's flatbed. What is a flatbed for those of us who don't know? For hauling cars, for picking up cars. Mr. Strang says, Your Honor, I would like to be heard briefly at a sidebar, if I may. Very well. At which time the bench conference was held off the record in low tones between the court and the attorneys out of the hearing of anyone else in the courtroom. Mr. Kratz continues, what is the next picture of in front of you? Exhibit 61. That would be my grandma's golf cart. Golf cart. Okay. And again, on the large screen, that is a representation of the photo that is in front of you. Yes. Do you know where the golf cart was normally kept? In her garage. Sorry, I got a bad itch. Okay, so what is Exhibit 65? My mom's golf cart. Again, directing your attention to the large screen. This is such a waste of time. The next photo, can you tell us what it is? That would be the car crusher. Where on the property was that located? Do you know? Down in the pit. What does down in the pit mean? It would actually be on the east side of the pit, the far side. The east side of the property? Yes. Bobby, did you ever operate this piece of equipment? No. Okay, I think we have this on a couple of different angles, but can you tell us about 67? Just the front view of the crusher. Actually, I'm not even going to post these to the jury. Just tell me what it is. Just a front view of the crusher. In 68, a back view of the crusher. In 69, this is perfect. Okay, a picture of the whole backyard. Of the pit that you were talking about? Yes. Okay, I will show this one. Tell us what we were looking at. There is the far east side of the property. Can you show us with the laser pointer the crusher, please? The crusher is right there. Is there a body of water or a pond right there? Yes, that would be right around here. Now, you know what is on the other side of that pond? Just an embankment. And the vehicles on the other side, there is a little lower, and there is an embankment. Could you show us that with your laser pointer? There is an embankment here, and there is the road that runs on the side of the pond. Okay, what is Exhibit 70, crushed cars? Have you seen any crushed cars on the property? No. You were not involved in the business at all? No. What is the next picture? So he's never seen any crushed cars before? I find that odd. What is the next picture? Number 71. A picture of tires. And what are picture 71, the tires, or where were they located? Just north of the crusher. What is Exhibit 72? A pile of tires. Did you know where those tires were located? This is just southwest of Steven's trailer in the back corner. Exhibit 73. I think we're getting there. I think it goes to like 78. It's ridiculous how many exhibits he's trying to get in with this one person. Just the Avery salvage sign. Where was the sign located now that the jury is seeing it on Exhibit 73? At the end of Avery Road. What does Avery Road connect with? Highway 147. So this sign that is on Exhibit 73 would be at the intersection. Is that correct? Yes. The next exhibit is 74. What is that? Just an overview of the salvage yard. Can you describe directly from it's directly south from Steven's trailer. All right, so Kratz says, I think this will be the last picture I show. There are some others up there. All right, Mr. Kratz says, question, Exhibit 74, what are you looking at? This is maybe half of the salvage yard with cars. The vehicles are located throughout the salvage property? Yes. And in fact, what is Exhibit 75? More pictures of cars in the junkyard. And Exhibit 76, just another picture of an overview of the yard. 77, the same thing, another picture of the overview. More junk cars? Yes, more junk cars. Exhibit 78, in front of you, more junk. Kratz says, with that, Judge, I will move admissions of Exhibits 37 through 78 as identified by Mr. Dassey. Mr. Strang says, number 70, I think he said he has never seen these crushed cars before, so I don't think that we even got to the relevancy of number 70. I think many of the others are cumulative, but as a practical matter, some that we might address later, I don't have any questions about their authenticity. The court says, all right, the court will, at this time, allow all of the exhibits in except for 70 based upon laying a foundation. The court says, Mr. Kratz, do you have any further questions for the witness? No, not at this time. All right, members of the jury, counsel and I have a few things to take up before we continue, so we are going to take a break at this time. This is one of those days where the jury is like in and out of the room. So the jury leaves the courtroom, and the following ensues. All right, so the court says you may be seated. We are now outside of the presence of the jury. Mr. Strang, you requested a brief sidebar during the witness's testimony. Did you wish to put it on the record? Mr. Buting says, yes, I do. We had 2 photographs identified and published to the jury. These were, by my notes, numbers 22 and 63, in which obvious police crime scene evidence yellow tape is wrapped around, first, what was identified as Mr. Avery's Grand Am, and secondly, the witness identified a flatbed truck. The implication of the evidence tape, obviously, is that there is something of evidentiary value, inculpatory, presumably, since the state is offering these, and it appears to be police tape. So it's prejudicial. It shows a juror could see that and think, oh, he's guilty because there's police tape on his lawn. All right, so that is an unfair implication as to both the Grand Am and the flatbed truck. I cannot imagine what the probative value of the photographs of these 2 vehicles is. In any event, certainly the state has photographs of the Grand Am without evidence tape or other suggestions. There is something to be preserved or something incriminating or inculpatory about it. So I think those ought not to come in for those reasons. That is a much longer version of what I said at the sidebar, but that was the issue I will be raising at sidebar off the record. And I will note that I am aware under State versus Miniero, the other cases that appellate courts of the state are not fond at all of off-the-record sidebars. I'm the one who requested the sidebar, and I knew that it would be off the record. So I will try to make clear that what I think I said, and the sidebar then immediately has to be on the record, but I appreciate the court giving me a chance now to elaborate much further on the issue I raised in summary at sidebar. The court says, all right, I will say the court is aware we have been admonished by the appeals courts to avoid sidebars whenever possible, and whenever one is held, to make a record of it. I try to remember to do that as best I can. Mr. Kratz says, any response to the defense's concern about the 2 exhibits? Just briefly, Judge, those items were, in fact, as soon as both of them were inspected, one of them, the blue Pontiac, was processed, and the items therein tested by the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory, and the DNA profile was developed from within. The fact that Steven Avery's BLOOD is near the console of the vehicle, as well as Ms. Halbach's vehicle, the state intends to include in evidence in this case, especially if the defense intends to pursue their planting of Mr. Avery's blood evidence, and the court, I'm sure, on its own can surmise the argument that the state may make if in fact planting evidence is going to continue to be advanced in this case. The negative evidence, that is, the lack of evidence in the flatbed, has similar evidentiary value, and whether the state intends to argue directly the implication of negative evidence or just the fact that the state in fact did a thorough investigation, all has at least some relevance in this case, and the showing of these two photographs are not in and of themselves prejudicial. They will both be referred to later in this trial, and at this time I think it's proper for the court to not reject or exclude those photographs as exhibits. Thank you. The court says, all right, I'm satisfied that at least at this stage of the trial, both of the photos offered have at least the potential for probative value for the reasons stated. Among other reasons, the thoroughness of the state's investigation can be put into play later in this case. Sorry. I do have one question, however. Does the state have photos of either the Pontiac Grand Am or the flatbed that doesn't have evidence tape involved? Mr. Kratt says, I can check, Judge. I don't know that we have the flatbed. The Grand Am, we may have photos at the crime lab, and that is something that I can certainly inquire into, but these were the first photos. I don't know the evidence tape I don't know that evidence tape in and of themselves, since the jury will hear they were processed, is anything prejudicial at all, but I will check for the court. The court says, all right, let's have the parties report back at 1 o'clock. Then the first order of business will be hearing from the defense. Mr. Strang says, yeah, I would like a little more time than 1 o'clock. If I could get 90 minutes, I think that would be enough. The court says, all right, we will give you until 1:15. Wow, okay. Okay, after the noon recess, following proceedings resumed in the courtroom outside the presence of the jury. So Bobby still hasn't come back for cross. You may be seated at this time. We're back on the record. Outside of the presence of the jury, I will indicate for the record that I met with counsel briefly in chambers before we began. It's my understanding, I believe, that we have an agreement on how we are going to proceed this afternoon, and that involves specifically taking a witness out of order. Is that correct, counsel? Mr. Kratt says, the state understands, Your Honor, that the defense has asked for an opportunity to defer its cross-examination of Bobby Dassey until the beginning of court tomorrow. We understand that the defense wishes an opportunity to interview Mr. Dassey sometime yet this afternoon, and the state is prepared to call Trooper Austin. So then they do so. Oh, wait, they're still arguing. Hold on. He's going to call Trooper Austin and have him present his testimony before the cross-examination begins, which, as I understand, the defense has asked for leave to commence for tomorrow morning. Mr. Strang, I had suggested in chambers that our conclusion and the defense's statement was that we did need to interview Bobby Dassey before cross-examining him, and that we wish to cross-examine him only once so as to not draw undue attention to him or to any part of his testimony, because that is an interview that is of unpredictable length and will take us in different possible directions, some of which I can predict as possibilities. And at this point, they didn't know all the stuff that was on Bobby Dassey's computer. At least the defense didn't. The state may have. I think the state knew. all the nasty searches that he had about just nasty stuff that he had on his computer. I can't even say things like that. I would get like booted off of YouTube right away. It's all adult films that he was looking at, and some snuff films and things like that. He was into that. And I'll leave it at that. All right, so unpredictable length. Where did I leave off? And I'm not sure I can predict all of the possibilities. I had asked that we have the balance of the day to do that, and that we start tomorrow morning with the cross-examination of Bobby Dassey, so that for the jury, this just flows sequentially, and the fact that the court has to resolve some issues is all the jury would know. In chambers, as I understood the court, it was willing to adjourn for the afternoon and start up again tomorrow morning. I object to taking another witness out of order, because I expect that, as I understand this trial, then Bobby Dassey will be the only witness whose cross-examination did not immediately follow in order with his direct examination. That is, it was broken up by another. All right, so the court, of course, controls the mode and the order of the interrogation of witnesses, but this does tend to highlight him, and also it leaves us attending to Trooper Austin, which that time probably would be better used and should be used in interviewing Bobby Dassey and adjusting the cross-examining of Bobby Dassey. Accordingly, doing a 1.5 or 1 hour witness is better than having no time to interview Bobby Dassey at all, to be sure, but I don't think this is an adequate remedy. And as I forecasted in chambers, I won't repeat here, there are a number of possible issues that we may need to revisit or visit, depending on the results of the conversation with Bobby Dassey. But in any event, I do ask the court then to exempt us, or to carve us exemption for Mr. Buting and myself and our defense investigator this afternoon, so that we can talk to Bobby Dassey here during the midst of his testimony, so to speak. And we would ask that the court's earlier order remain in place for agents of the state other than Ms. Leverens, who is the advocate, who, of course, as a practical matter, has to have some communication with Bobby about the court's schedule and plans. Mr. Kratz? Thank you, Judge. As the court knows, in chambers, it was the state's request that the defense proceed directly with cross-examination. I will have an exhibit marked for the court, which I alerted the court and reminded counsel that they already had in their possession pages 516 and 517 of the Sheriff's Department discovery, which is now a second place within the material that Mr. Strang already had, which alerted the defense counsel to the substance of and the surrounding circumstances of the interview that Mr. Dassey mentioned in his direct testimony. To suggest to this court at this time that it was not until this very moment that the defense realized the significance of Bobby Dassey, when they have known for well over a year that Bobby Dassey was the last person other than their client to see Ms. Halbach alive and walking towards Mr. Avery's trailer, to suggest it's only now that they believe it's important to interview Mr. Dassey, the state believes to be disingenuous. They didn't understand how big of a witness he was until you got him on the stand testifying for other people and for, to witnesses that should have got their statements in, through their direct testimony, not through him. And yeah, so I don't know, it's just crazy. All right, so that notwithstanding, Your Honor, we understand why the defense has made this request. We do disagree that after Mr. Strang and Mr. Buting have an opportunity to interview Mr. Dassey, that the state should somehow be prohibited or precluded from ourselves interviewing or speaking with Mr. Dassey. That is a separate issue, of course. And with that exhibit now having been provided to the court, we don't believe that we have any further need to make any further record on this issue. Thank you, Judge. Mr. Strang says, I acknowledge that I have had In my possession, pages 516 and 517 of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department report. It's not well over a year, of course, because Mr. Buning and I have first entered our appearances less than a year ago in this case. But we have had that report and those 2 pages for months, and in any event, I wish that the question of the interviewing of Bobby Dassey were as easy as whether he is important or not. That is not the question. There are a whole lot of other dynamics at work here, such as the availability of witnesses and the allocation of resources and some of those things. We don't need to rehash all of the arguments about why the defense had wanted a retrial date later than February 5th, 2007, but it's not all that easy. I can say and should say that we have not interviewed Bobby Dassey at any time, and we hope to be able to do that today. And the issue, in the end, I think under section 971.231b, comes down to the meaning of witness and whether here we were provided notice by the state that Bobby Dassey will be a witness to testify to the oral statement at issue materially different as it is from Mr. Osmundson's rendition, and some differences from the second-hand rendition from another witness in pages 516 and 17 in just recounting to a law enforcement agent that Bobby Dassey supposedly said to him about what Steven Avery said in Bobby Dassey's presence. So I think we have got a record I have made, and I will renew the mistrial motion and the request for lesser relief, with the least favored alternative being given that afternoon here to attend just to Bobby Dassey and resuming the trial with the jury tomorrow morning with Bobby Dassey's cross-examination. I understand the court has ruled on that. I just want to make our position clear. The court says, all right, first of all, the court has already denied the motion for a mistrial, and I have heard nothing to make me change that. Since the matter was brought up on the record this morning, the state has presented the court with another piece of discovery which makes reference a little more directly to the statement that was the subject of the defense motion here. Given the fact, nevertheless, that the witness himself in his own statements apparently did not make reference to the information contained in the other 2 documents that highlighted the witness's exposure to this alleged statement on the part of the defendant, I agree that the defendant should be permitted some time to explore this issue and to interview the witness. I have not been presented a reason why such an interview should require hours of preparation, since the defense has had the opportunity to interview this witness for as long as the case has been pending. There is only one narrow issue, specifically the witness's testimony as to one statement on the part of that defendant, and that gives rise to the need for another interview. I'm confident if we break a little earlier today and the defense has an opportunity to interview the witness, that should be sufficient to address any problem that may exist. I do agree under the circumstances that the defense should have the right to interview Mr. Dassey first. But under the circumstances, I see no reason to prohibit any representative of the state from interviewing Mr. Dassey later. Again, for those reasons that have been stated earlier, we are talking about one fairly narrow statement here that is referenced in it at least 2 different spots in the discovery that was admittedly provided to the defense. I think the remedy the court has ordered should be sufficient to address this issue. Likewise, I don't believe the court will simply inform the jury for the inconvenience of the parties and the witnesses we are going to hear from Officer Austin, and the cross-examination of Mr. Dassey will be completed tomorrow morning. That happens on a fairly routine basis in many trials for a variety of reasons, and the court has never known that to be something that is likely to influence the jury in any way. So at this time, we will bring the jurors back in. Then, Mr. Kratz, you can call your witness. Thank you, and that was a long stretch, and we're not going to talk about Mr. Austin. Basically, Mr. Timothy Austin. We're not going to go through his testimony at all, really. I'm just going to point out. So Trooper Timothy Austin, he's with the Wisconsin State Patrol. He ended the day as the last witness of the day for the state. And I had just a couple things that I wanted to point out. So he was assigned to the Wisconsin State Patrol Academy to the Technical Reconstruction Unit. So that's he's employed as a trooper with the Wisconsin State Patrol, and he is experienced in technical reconstruction for crashes and crime scene reconstructions for the Division of the State Police. So that is his role. Basically, what he did for this case was he he did a bunch of measurements. He used what's the word now? I can't think of the word. Geometer? Yeah. So yeah, as I said before, we utilized an electric measuring device. This is what he would do, in addition to recording some measurements by hand with tape measurements, if you will. But the bulk of the measurements were taken using an electronic device known as the geodometer? Whatever. Or the total station. In total, we documented over 4,100 measurements at the Avery property. So basically, he went to the Avery salvage yard, took a bunch of measurements, and they made a bunch of 3D drawings and stuff, and that was his role. So he was basically just coming to court to, verify that was what he did and how he made them, and he talks all about that. If you find that interesting, which I don't, then go check out Trooper Timothy Austin's testimony in the PDF that is in the description of this video. So we are going to, so that was it for Trooper Austin. I'm not really going to get into him. So up next we have Bobby Dassey is called back to the stand. So now we're on day 4. We're moving along. We're on day 4. This is February 15th. State's witness, Bobby Dassey, is called back to the stand, but now it is cross-examination. So the defense is, Mr. Strang now is going to be asking the questions. All right, so good afternoon, sir. And I will turn my mic on. How is that? All right. So on November 5th, you get to the Avery salvage yard, right? Yes, sir. And one of the first orders of business is to map the area around the Toyota RAV4. Yes. And the first place we mapped was around, oh wait. This is not Bobby. Hold on. I have the wrong part. Oh yeah. Wait, no. I'm on the wrong page. Here we go. Sorry. That was the beginning of Trooper Timothy Austin's testimony. So sorry about that. I had the wrong link or bookmark. I have all the tabs on the side to get to the places I need. I clicked on the wrong one. All right, so this is witness Bobby Dassey back on the stand, cross-examination, attorney Dean Strang. Good morning. Welcome back. Good morning. Let me zoom in a little here. All right, so good morning. Did you grow up on the salvage yard that you described living at yesterday? This is driving me nuts. I need to... Yeah, it's better. Okay. Just my high school years in school. That is, you were living with your mom? Yes. With Barb Jonda? Yes. You described your stepdad yesterday, right? Yeah, Tom. His name is Tom. Is Tom Jonda? Yes. Your mom is now married to another fellow named Scott Toddick? Yes. You are the second of 4 boys? Yes. All of you have the last name Dassey? Yes. From Pete Dassey? Yes. Your natural father? Yes. And Brian is older than you? Yes. And there is you, Bobby? Yep. All right. Then we got Brendan. No, I'm sorry. We have Blaine. Yup. And Brendan is the youngest of the four brothers. Yes. So Brian, the oldest boy, oldest son, already was out of Barb's house back on Halloween 2005. Yes. He would come and go once in a while. He lived nearby but didn't sleep there most nights. Yeah. So you and your two younger brothers were still living with your mom, Barb Jonda. Yes. You have been there since about the time you began high school? Yes, 2001 we moved in. Were you living in the mobile home? Yes. Same one, same place? Yes. Steven Avery, who lived just to the west of you, is that your uncle? Yes. Your mother's brother? Yes. And then you also had an Uncle Chuck living on the salvage yard property? Yes. That's also your mom's brother? Yes. And he lives back around to the southeast, sort of behind the office buildings and the other buildings of the business, right? Yes. In a trailer home there? Yes. Grandpa and Grandma live there? Yes. And this is your mother and father's? Yes. Alan and Dolores? Yes. Yep. Them in the back? Yep. Okay. And they live up right off the parking lot in the main area of the business? Yes. They have a double wide trailer? Yes. And a garage attached? Yes. Or at least next, yeah, to the trailer. You also have an Uncle Earl, your mother's brother Earl, don't you? Yes. Earl is married to a woman named Candy? Yes. Earl and Candy don't live on the salvage yard. No. Property. They live nearby too? Yes. And Earl, in fact, works at the salvage yard. Yes. Chuck works at the salvage yard? Yes. And after Steve got out of prison, he came to work at the salvage yard? Yes. Your Grandpa Alan, he started the salvage yard? Yes. But he is not quite as active. The adult boys are basically running the business? Yes. And your mom works elsewhere? Yes. Back about Halloween of 2005, she had a factory job? Yes. Did she work first shift? Yes. And so she's up and out of the house pretty early in the morning? Yes. About the time you are getting home, probably. Back then. Before you even got home? Yes. Okay, you are getting off work at 6 in the morning from your third shift? Yep. And by the time you are home at 6:15, 6:30, she's already gone? Yeah. She would then come home mid-afternoon? Yes. What goes on in the salvage yard business, Mr. Dassey? Well, they sell used parts for cars, the people that need these parts. Okay, do they also do some car repair? Once in a while, yeah. Okay, did you ever work for the salvage yard for one summer? I mean for wages. Yeah. Okay. What did you do that summer you worked at the salvage yard? I just changed tires and stripped cars. Changed colors. That's weird. What do you mean by stripping cars? Taking all the stuff that you can get money from off of them. After you have stripped the car, taken all the valuable spare parts off, where did the things you stripped off go? Into piles. It's a junkyard. You just pile it up in another pile of junk. Where does the rest of the car go? It goes down to be crushed. Okay, and some of the cars now looked like they are lined up in rows and they are not crushed. Is that the area you guys call the pit? Yes. And why are some of the cars not crushed, but just lined up in rows down there? Because them are the cars that are still good. They can still sell stuff off of. Because them are. Read it here, folks. All right, so you can still strip some parts off of it? Yes. Some of them pretty old? Yes. Others pretty new? Yes. How do cars get to come to the salvage yard? How is it that a car would end up there? People call them, they go back, pick it up. The Avery salvage business runs a wrecker. Yes. Or towing service? Yes. Okay, so let's say there is a car crash and one or both of the cars is totaled. Might those end up in the salvage yard? Yes, if they are called by a police department or a fire department, or yeah, or private people, yeah. Any of those? Yeah. Okay, you saw wrecked cars, and that is, you saw wrecked cars, and that is cars that have been in a crash come in the summer you worked there, right? Yes. Some of those cars, because there's been a car crash, some of them have blood in them. Yes. And are there any parts from a car when you are stripping it you might melt down? Yes. And what would that be? Like aluminum. What's aluminum on a car? Like rims, transmission, all that stuff. Transmission is probably the biggest cast aluminum. Yes. Okay. Piece of car. Does the Avery salvage yard have a place to melt down aluminum rims? Yes. Or aluminum transmissions? Yes. Where is that? It is in the old shop building. Up around the parking lot area? Yes. And what is this that melts down the aluminum transmission? It's called a smelter. Okay, big thing, small thing. Have you ever seen how it works? It's pretty big. Do you know how it works? It is heated by propane. That's really all I know. There's a big outdoor propane tank next to it. Yep. And you say people would come here to buy spare parts. Are these just people who are maybe fixing their own cars in the garage? Yes. Or restoring an older car or something like that? Hobby type people? Yes. Independent, small repair garage people, do they ever come to buy parts to put on cars that they might be fixing for customers of theirs? Yes. One of the cars that we have seen over and over again, I think that you talked about, was this maroon, I think you said a 1989 Plymouth Voyager minivan. Yes. And that was your mom's car, and you know that? Yes. It was for sale back around Halloween 2005. Yes. That Steven was helping her sell it. Yes. Did you eventually sell? No. At the same time that one was for sale, were you aware of other cars that may have been for sale or on or off, for sale, whether they were actively advertised or not? Yes. Such as Steven had a Chevy Blazer for sale and a Monte Carlo. Where were those kept, if you know? Up at the end of our driveway. This was back around Halloween of 2005? Yes. At the end of your driveway, do you mean there's a road that comes down if you take a right instead of going into the salvage yard business? There's a road? Yes. That runs east, west, there near the north-south of the property? Yes. Is that the driveway you are referring to? Yes. That actually goes down to a little loop driveway in front of our house. Yes. In front of your house, sorry. And then sort of goes into Steven's garage? Yes. So it would have been up towards the main road, so to speak. Yes. By the entrance to the business mailbox or the entrance to the office. Yes. This is very confusing and hard to read. All right, so now yesterday, Mr. Kratz asked you about a conversation that happened in your garage with your friend Mike, was there? Yes. Is Mike Osmondson? Yes. Or Michael Osmondson, but you call him Mike. Yes. How do you know you were in the garage, your garage, when this conversation happened? Because we just arrived home and we entered the garage. What was going on in the garage? We bought some climbing sticks that night for hunting and we were putting them together. Climbing sticks are little sticky pads you put on the rungs to climb up the deer stand. Yes. So your boots don't slip and you don't fall off and break your neck. Yes. You were doing that with Mike in the garage? Yes. Roughly that time. Do you remember you guys were doing this? Probably 6:37. Somewhere in that range. Yes. And was there a deer? Yes. Okay. What was this was a deer that was hunting at that, or that was hanging at that point? Yes, in the garage. Was your deer skin out? Skun out? What? Was the deer skinned? Not at that time. I'm assuming skinned, and it says something weird. Okay, so not at that time. The time of this conversation it had not been skinned yet. Yes. Or had been. It had not. When did you get this deer? That night. And how long or how did you get the deer? It was roadkill. It was hit right up the road from our house. Now, when you get a roadkill, you can't just take that home and eat it necessarily, can you? No, you have to get a tag in this state. Yes. From the DNR? Yes. So you had not hit the deer? No. You saw it hit? Yes. And you knew it was a fresh kill? Yes. So you put it in your truck? Yes. Brought it home? Yes. And it was too late at that point to get the tag? Yes. Did you hang it up that first night? Yes. Who called to get the tag? My mom did. And do you remember whether she called about the tag the night you first found the deer or the next day? The night that we found the deer. But you didn't get the tag until the next morning? Yes. Okay, I'm going to show you Exhibit 123. Can you make out what that is? That's the tag. A tag for the deer that was hanging in your garage? Yes. And when you had this conversation with Mike? Yes. Okay. While you were putting the climbing sticks on? Yes. All right. Now the tag is dated November 4th or 11/4/05, isn't it? Yes. Okay. So where did you get the tag? From 310 Mobile. And you will have to explain that. At least some of the jurors may not understand this. It's a DNR tag, right? Yes. But the DNR sets it up so there are local agents and places you can go. Gas stations. Gas stations where you can get the tag? Yes. Well, you learn something new every day. You have to go to the gas station to get a tag for your roadkill deer to eat it. Who knew? All right, so you don't have to run to Madison or something. Yes. Okay, and there's a mobile gas station on Highway 310 near the house. Yes. Why is Bobby Dassey's every single answer is yes? It's just no further explanation. All right, so that's what you call the mobile 310. Yes. Did you take the deer to the mobile 310 and get it tagged? Yes. So you had to take it down from where it was hanging in your garage? Yes. For anybody who doesn't know, why do you hang a deer? It helps cure the meat. And do you hang it before you skin it or after you skin it, or both? I usually hang it and skin it, then you let it hang for a day. Okay, but you didn't skin it the first night you had it? No. Because you had to get it tagged? Yes. So you took it down the morning of the 4th of November? Yes. Went and got it tagged yourself? Yes. And I want to be clear that even though your mom had called about the tag, you actually took the deer to get it tagged. Yes. Because she was off to work on Friday morning? Yes. November 4th was Friday? Yes. Now, you bring your deer back and you have your deer tagged, I assume, right? Yes. Now, what did you do with the deer at that point? I hung it up again and skun it. That's really what you say, skun it out? I guess. I don't know. I don't know nothing about skinning a deer. Okay. And was it that night that you hung it up again and skun it out that you had this conversation with Mike? No, it was the night before. The night before? Yes. Okay. You remember talking to us last night? Yes. And telling us that it was the second time you hung the deer and the deer was skun out when you were doing the climbing sticks? Yes. You remember what the conversation with Mike happened after the news of Teresa Halbach's disappearance had been on TV? Yes. That you are certain of? Yes, it was that day. After it was on TV? Yes. Okay, so now Thursday night, November 3rd, you would have gone to work? Yes. You would have left for work about 9:30? Yes. To be there a little bit before your 10 o'clock shift? Yes. Friday nights, you don't have to work. No. Oh, he says no. Friday night, you don't have to work. No. That's it for you. The work week ends at 6 on Friday morning, right? But it starts again at 10 on Sunday night. Oh, that sucks. Yes. Actually, Friday night and Saturday night are it's your weekend? Yes. So Friday night, 6:37, Mike's over and you don't have to go to work that night, right? Yes. But you have heard the night before, or not you, I guess, but the night before, the news has been on the TV about Miss Halbach's disappearing. Yes. Let me just get that up on the screen so the jury can see the date. Boy, it's tough. It washes out. Okay, that isn't the picture you took. No, that's dear blood on the left. Yes, side. We can't do it this way, but what I'm looking at is way over on the right side of this tag. It says date of issuance of the permit tag. Do you see that? Yes. And what is the date of issuance of the permit tag? 11/4/05. Your Honor, maybe I will just, if I may, just pass this around the jury in the old-fashioned way. Any objections? No. Go ahead, Mr. String. As you and Mike were putting these climbing sticking pads on the deer stand, your Uncle Steven walked over to the garage. Yes. Came in, he and Mike had some conversation. Yes. You didn't catch the first part of the conversation, I gather? Yes. That is, I mean, you did not catch. No, I didn't. So you don't personally know whether Mike started the conversation or Steve did. No, I don't. What you caught was Steve making a joke about wanting to help get rid of a body or dispose of a body, something like that. Yes. That was clear to you. It was a joke. Yes. Mike laughed. Yes. You laughed. Yes. And Steve followed that up by saying something like, people go missing all the time and this girl may have left for Mexico. Yes. Did you guys laugh about that too? Yes. Was this the first you learned that Teresa Halbach was missing? Yes. And one or both of them from a conversation had seen it on TV? Yes. What the TV had said, well, I guess you hadn't seen the TV, but you eventually did see TV reports? Yes, of Miss Halbach missing, and it described her as missing. Yes, at least for the first several days. Yes. All right, so now I think beginning on November 5th, which is the day you tried to come home and found Jambo Creek Road blocked off. That's a name? Okay. Yes, Saturday. Yes. Okay, beginning that day, you were coming home to try to get your Labrador puppy back after goose hunting? Yes. In the morning? Yes. With Mike again, actually, right? Yes. Okay, so you come back and you can't get to your house because the police have the road blocked off. Yes. Beginning that, right then and there, for probably over 3 hours that Saturday, November 5th, you've talked to the police a number of times. Yes. About the investigation into Teresa Halbach's disappearance and death. Yes. It was a little over 3 hours, as you recall, that first day, Saturday, before you could get your dog back. Yes, it was about 3.5 hours. Okay, and then at least 2 other times you were interviewed in the weeks, months following Teresa's Halbach's disappearance. Yes. In any one of those conversations with the police, did any police officer ever ask you about this joke that you overheard between Mike and Steve in the garage? No. If we go back to Friday, November 4th, again, later in the night, do you remember either yourself or your Uncle Steven getting a call, probably on a cell phone from your Uncle Chuck? No. Something about having seen headlights back by his house? Not that I remember. And asking you guys to check it out? Not that I remember. You have no recollection at this point now of having driven down in the pit to see if you and Steve could find the source of those headlights that Chuck was talking about. Not that I remember. Are you kidding? He doesn't remember? Bullshit. Bullshit. Okay. But you stayed home that weekend. You did not go up to Crivets. Yes. You were asked yesterday by Mr. Kratz about, I'm going to go back to Monday, October 31st. I'm hoping around a little bit, but we're back on Monday. You were asked whether you heard a telephone call come in from Teresa Halbach at about 11:45 in the morning. No. That is, you were sleeping then? Yes. And you are a sound sleeper. Yes. The answering machine is in the living room. Yes. Which is sort of next to and west of your bedroom. Yes. But it's not in your room. No. That answering machine, is the kind that, I mean, you have heard calls come into the answering machine, I take it. Yes. Just not this one. No. So when a call comes in and you don't answer it and it goes to the answering machine, this is the kind of answering machine where you hear the caller leaving the message. Yes. It's like a speakerphone. It broadcasts, so to speak. Yes. Okay. But even with that, you didn't hear Teresa Halbach leave her message? No. You had, I think, said yesterday that on Halloween you had no reason to be in your Uncle Steven's garage. Yes, that's true. No verbal response. Now, so he didn't confirm that it was true. All right, so now you have been in that garage on various times before. Yes. Been in there since? Yes. Typically, if you were going to go in Steven's garage, it would be because he was asking for your help in fixing a car or a snowmobile or something. Yes. He would ask your help occasionally. Yes. Ask for Brendan's help occasionally? Yes. Ask for Blaine's help occasionally? Yes. Maybe Brian, your older brother, when he still lived there? Yes. When you got up that afternoon on Halloween and you happen to look out the window, you see the woman you now know as Teresa Halbach? Yes. Your recollection is that she was wearing a black coat? Yes. It came down below her hips? Yes. And she was wearing trousers? Yes. They were black? I do not know the color. It's been a while since then, but one of the times you talked to police, specifically a Calumet County investigator named John Dettering, was back in February 27 of 2006, coming up on a year ago. Yes. Back then, when you were talking to investigator Dettering, the events of Halloween 2005 were a little fresher in your mind. Yes. Did you try to tell investigator Dettering the truth as best you recalled it when you talked to him? Yes. So not just on February 27th, but each time you talked to him? Yes. You knew it was important to give him accurate details if you could. Yes. You think reviewing his report might help refresh your recollection about what exactly Ms. Halbach was wearing that day that you saw her. Yes. Just to put, so Dean Strang says, just going to put an exhibit sticker on this so we know what we're talking about. And then he continues his questioning. I'm going to show you exhibit 124, which is just investigator Dettering's report. And I want you just to read this to yourself. You are welcome to look at it, at all of it, or any of it if you want to. I thought that this paragraph on page 2 on the report might be the most helpful, but you look at whatever you want. Just read it to yourself. All done. Or all done? Okay, yes. Okay. Does that help? I love how we can just fast forward through that part. Zip right through it. Okay, does that help you remember today a little better what Ms. Halbach was wearing back on Halloween 2005? Yes. When you first saw her, was it black trousers you saw? I honestly don't remember now. You don't? What did this help you remember? His report. That she was wearing black trousers. Okay, that's at least what you told investigator Dettering back when this was fresher in your mind? Yes, but you cannot recall what color her top was? No. What you saw Miss Halbach do as you were looking out the kitchen window you described, or the window near the kitchen, you saw her taking a photograph or two of the van, right? Yes. And then you go hop in the shower? Yes. Very quick shower, you told us yesterday. 3 minutes. Yes. 3-4 minutes? Yes. Okay. And then the next time you can look out the window, presumably, you have put some clothes on? Yes. See, this just doesn't make sense to me. This part right here. All right, so you take a minute or two, or what? Yes. Do you look out the window then again? Yes. And now you see her sort of walking towards your Uncle Steven's trailer? Yes. Not too long after that, you leave the house with your bow to go hunting? Yes. Her SUV is still there? Yes. But you don't see her? No. And you don't see your Uncle Steven at the moment? No. You are not looking for either one of them? No. You are just going out to get in your truck? Yes. So your truck is the other direction, so to speak. It's away from Steven's house? Yes. Tell the jury, did you hear a lot of horrible screaming when you came walking with the bow? No, I didn't hear anything. Anybody crying for help? No. Was there any background noise that you remember that would have blocked out those sort of sounds? Not that I remember. Did you, as you drove off then to go deer hunting, it's what, 2:45 or 3, somewhere in that? Yes. Range? Yes. The deer, I guess, probably in general, aren't going to be up out of their beds and feeding, looking around for food in November until close to dusk? Yes. You were just driving 2 miles to your little hunting area? Yes. By yourself? Yes. Is it that you like to get up in the stand especially early? Yes. So you don't spook the deer or something? Yes. Okay. Even if you are going to have to wait a couple of hours for dusk? Yes. Anybody see you? Yes. As you are going hunting? Who? Scott Toddick. Scott Toddick? Yes. And this is all questionable to me too, this whole thing, how they pass each other on the road. Okay, he was a friend of your mom's at that point? Yes, but now they're married. How do you know he saw you? Because I passed him on the highway. Okay, and what you told Investigator Dettering is that Mr. Toddick would be available to verify precisely what time he had seen you. Yes. What did you think, or why did you think that? Maybe he looked at his clock in his truck? You hadn't? Had you talked to him about, with Mr. Toddick, about whether he could verify precisely when he saw you? No. You were just kind of hoping or guessing that maybe he could? Yes. What sort of, well, you were bow hunting that day. Do you also participate in the gun season for deer? Yes. What do you use a deer rifle? I don't even know how to say that. 30 to 06? What? Is this yours? Yes. Okay. Do you have other guns? Yes. And what other long guns? I have shotguns, mostly all shotguns. But back at the end of October 2005, you also had a .22 caliber rifle. Yes, which is what they believe Teresa was shot with. A Marlin? Yes. A semi-automatic? Yes. And then your mom had a bolt action .22 rifle in her bedroom, right? Yes. You kept your Marlin .22 semi-automatic in your bedroom? Yes. Mr. Dassey, just to finish, are you quite sure now whatever details you don't remember of Halloween 2005 today are you quite sure now that you woke up and got up sometime by 2:30 or a little before? Yes. You said yesterday that Blaine and Brendan were still in high school. Got home usually, 3:40, 3:45, somewhere in there? Yes. And that was a regular every day? Yes, every day. Because they took a school bus to and from school? Yes. So school lets out at the same time the bus runs the same route that they are pretty regular? Yes. And are you quite sure that Blaine and Brendan coming home that Halloween 2005 were not the ones who found you still asleep and awakened you? No. And if Blaine told the police that you were still asleep at 3:40 or 3:45 when he got home from the school bus and that you awoke after he got home, Blaine is just mistaken? Yes. Attorney Strang, that is all I have. Wow. Yeah, redirect by Dr. Kratz. No, thank you. By Attorney Kratz. Mr. Dassey, you stated today on cross-examination that you believe that you saw Teresa walking towards your Uncle Steven's trailer after your shower. Is that right? Yes. But you had seen her arrive before your shower? Yes. Did you see where Ms. Halbach parked her SUV? Yes. Where was that? Just in front of the van on the north side of the driveway. No obstruction to your view of that? No. Mr. Strang showed you a police report, an investigative report prepared by Investigator Dettering. Did you get a chance to look at that today? Yes. Have you had a chance to look at that before today that you can recall? Yes. When I asked yesterday when the last time you saw a fire at Steven's burn area was, and Strain yells, "Scope." Do you recall what your answer was? Scope. Just a second. The court says, just a second, there's an objection that it's beyond the scope of redirect. Is that correct? Attorney Strain says, of cross, yes, beyond the scope of cross, so it's not proper redirect. Attorney Kratz says, it's what else? Attorney Kratz says, it's what else he told Investigator Dettering he showed him the very exhibit that I'm intending to refer to. The court says, no, I don't think that's enough. It wasn't something that was dealt with on cross, so I'm going to sustain the objection. All right. Ha-ha! In your face, Ken Kratz. All right, so you said that you saw Scott Toddick on the way to deer hunting. About what time was it that you saw him? Do you recall? 2:45. About 2:45 p.m. Yes. So you had already seen Teresa Halbach by 2:45 and in fact had already left your residence. Is that right? No. She was still there. What I'm saying is you had already seen her? Oh, yes. And had left your residence? Yes. By 2:45? Yes. Mr. Strang asked if you heard any screaming or if you heard any other noises when you got into your truck. Were you listening for anything like that? No. How long does it take from exiting your trailer until you get into your truck? How far of a distance was that? Maybe 10 feet? I had it parked right in front of the door. How long would it take to get into your car? Maybe 10 seconds. Oh, so in those 10 seconds, you didn't hear any screams or any calls for help? No. Is that right? I think that's all, Judge. Thank you. No recross, Your Honor. So, yikes. All right. So I don't even know how to unpack this, but seriously. So I'm just going to say really briefly and then let you guys go. So there's just a lot of inconsistencies and things here that just make you go, huh? They're head scratchers. And it definitely, there's some head scratchers here, I think, regarding Bobby Dassey's testimony. And I cannot wait to hear Scott Toddick's testimony regarding his hunting and passing him on the highway, because he's supposed to be another key witness or whatever. But definitely Bobby was one of the key witnesses for the state to bring home their guilty verdict, because they got Bobby saying, you know, she was going in, like heading towards the trailer. So everybody thinks now she went to the trailer, even if she didn't. So that was something. And then the timeline. Okay, so his own brothers have contradicted multiple things that he said. So we're going to have to get to that in another episode, because this is already 2.5 hours long. And we already know that his brother Blaine says a couple things that really contradict some of the things that Bobby says. So we'll get into that, I think, at a later date, because I got to unload and unpack all of this that just went down, because, yeah. Crazy, right? It could very well possibly be that Bobby is the suspect, the culprit, the person that the police are looking for, and yet he's sitting there testifying and putting his uncle away by IDing his uncle as being the last person to be with Teresa. Isn't that messed up? If that is the case, I'm not saying it is, but if that is the case, that Bobby and possibly Scott did something to Teresa, and they are trying to, like, it coordinated the whole thing to let his uncle take the fall, which is just sickening, I think. And being able to lie so easily about it on the stand. If that's the case, I'm not saying it is. I don't have any proof. It's speculation, but it does have a lot of red flags, his testimony and just his statements and everything. What do you guys think? Please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to hit the like button on your way out, and make sure the notification bell is on so you get notifications for more Steven Avery trial. I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye now. If you've been impacted by a true crime and would like your story told in your own words, or if you or someone you know has been wrongfully convicted or accused of a crime, please write to crimeincourtchannel@gmail.com and tell us your real true crime encounters. Thanks for watching.